Did you know there is an instinct in women so powerful it can make them walk away from their children, their family, and an entire life built over years, all in a matter of days? Carl Jung revealed a truth that shook psychology to its core. Inside the female mind moves an archaic power. It outweighs love, rises above reason, and defeats every other human emotion. Because of this force, she can give you devotion today and still walk away tomorrow. This is why even brilliant women sometimes choose what looks like self-destruction. Why they turn away from the man who surrenders, who gives them everything they demand, yet quietly admire the man who gives them nothing. Jung called this the best-kept secret about the nature of women. A mechanism as old as the human race, written into her very DNA to secure something specific. Once you see it, you will never look at a woman's choices the same way again. Prepare for an awakening that will catch you off guard. In the deepest archives of psychology lies a discovery so profound it overturned everything we thought we knew. Jung spent years exploring the human psyche, yet nothing prepared him for what he uncovered about a woman's most hidden impulses. What he found was no theory to debate, but a biological fact forged over thousands of years. This instinct works beneath the surface of the mind, shaping choices that appear senseless to the outside world. It ignores status, education, intelligence. Neither money, age, nor past experience shields against it. Jung understood that this instinct is tied to survival, an unconscious program seeking the strongest genetic material, the kind that promises the most resilient future for her bloodline. And here is where it becomes truly unsettling. This programming does not care about modern ideas of compatibility, shared values, or long-term satisfaction. It runs on ancient code from a world of scarcity where strength and dominance decided who survived. In today's world, its expression can be alarming. A woman may sincerely seek stability, kindness, and emotional care. She may even believe those are her highest values. Yet, when this instinct activates, those values step aside. Suddenly, she feels drawn to men who display traits her rational mind calls dangerous. Arrogance feels safer than humble goodwill. Unpredictability excites her more than calm reliability. Risk-taking lights the fire faster than careful planning ever could. These are not deliberate choices. They are preloaded reactions that bypass logic completely. Women who feel this switch often say, "I do not feel like myself." They make decisions that clash with their character. They ignore the counsel of friends and family. They abandon plans they once held dear. This is not a flaw or a lapse in judgment. It is a vital process that does not run constantly, but seizes control during key seasons of life, often triggered by biological cycles and major transitions. Recognizing this pattern was one of Jung's greatest breakthroughs. He found that this instinct operates without the help of affection. A woman can truly love a man, remember every tender moment, and still feel a powerful pull toward a very different kind of man. And that is where the inner struggle begins. At its core, this instinct is a silent command, a deep drive to seek out the strongest genetic material, the kind that will create the most resilient future for her bloodline. And this is where it becomes fascinating. This programming does not care about romance, it does not care about emotional harmony, shared values, or lifelong promises. It runs on ancient algorithms, the kind forged in caves when survival depended on strength, dominance, and speed. Its impact on the modern world is unsettling. A woman may sincerely crave stability. She may truly believe kindness, loyalty, and safety are what she values most. She might even say these things out loud and believe every word. But when this instinct awakens, those carefully held desires move to the background. Suddenly, she is drawn to men who carry qualities her logical mind would label dangerous. And the signals that trigger this pull are sharp, precise, and universal. Safety feels stronger when it is wrapped in arrogance, not quiet humility. Unpredictability feels more exciting than calm reliability. Risk-taking ignites her desire faster than careful, predictable planning ever could. These are not conscious choices. They are pre-programmed responses, silent code running beneath her rational mind. Women who experience this shift often describe it the same way. It feels like I am not myself. They make decisions that seem completely out of character. They dismiss the warnings of friends and family. They abandon plans and promises that once felt unshakable. And this is not weakness, it is not foolishness, it is a biological process, a vital one, that does not run every day but takes command at specific moments in her life, often triggered by biological cycles or turning points. Recognizing this pattern was one of Jung's greatest breakthroughs in understanding the female mind. And perhaps the most shocking truth of all, this instinct does not even need love to function. A woman can be deeply in love, share years of memories, feel genuine care for a man, and still feel a sudden, unstoppable pull toward a completely different kind of man. This is what fuels the quiet turmoil that makes so many relationships look irrational from the outside. The power of this programming is so strong that it can erase years of loyalty and shared history in mere hours. Jung recorded cases of women who walked away from stable, loving relationships after a single encounter with a man who awakened this ancient biological reaction. Her logical mind will then work overtime to justify her choice, but the decision was made far below the surface of conscious thought. And what makes this instinct even more striking is how completely it changes her perception. The same actions take on entirely new meaning. The hostility of the wrong man feels threatening, but from the man who triggers this instinct, it feels thrilling, even protective. The emotional distance of a steady partner feels cold, but when it comes from the man who awakens her biology, it feels magnetic, mysterious, irresistible. According to Jung, resisting this instinct is nearly impossible, because it does not just live in her thoughts, it hijacks the brain's reward system itself. When a woman meets a man who triggers it, her brain floods with chemicals, dopamine, adrenaline, a rush of euphoria, the same sensations that drive hunger, thirst, and survival. She does not choose these feelings. They happen to her. They move through her like a storm that cannot be reasoned with or held back. And this is why so much relationship advice fails. Pros and cons lists, logical arguments about choosing the right partner, endless conversations about the future, all collapse the moment this ancient switch is turned on. Because this programming was never designed for reason, it was designed to silence reason. In the ancient world, when survival of the bloodline outweighed personal happiness, this instinct was not a weakness, it was a weapon, a force that ensured nature's priority was fulfilled, even if it meant tearing apart a carefully built life. Understanding this does not reduce women to biology, it does the opposite. It reveals just how powerful these hidden forces truly are, forces that have shaped the destiny of humanity for thousands of years. Jung's discovery was never meant to condemn these responses. It was meant to illuminate them, to strip away the illusion that we are fully in control of our choices. And perhaps the most unsettling revelation of all was how this instinct interacts with love itself. We want to believe that love is the strongest force in a relationship, but Jung uncovered something deeper, something that moves even when love is still alive. Love belongs to the conscious mind. It grows slowly, like a vine weaving itself around shared experiences, trust, and time. But this instinct does not grow. It strikes from below. It does not erase love, it simply overpowers it. A woman can still love her partner deeply, still remember every tender moment, still feel gratitude for what they have shared, and yet be pulled with unstoppable force toward a man who ignites this hidden program. And this is where the real torment begins. The war between her biology and her conscious intentions. Inside her, two voices battle for control. One whispering loyalty, duty, gratitude. The other screaming for change, for danger, for something she cannot name but cannot resist. What follows is confusion, guilt, and choices that seem to betray everything she once believed about herself. At the root of this override lies chemistry. Love releases oxytocin and dopamine, creating closeness, bonding, and peace. But when this primal program takes over, it triggers a very different chemical storm. Norepinephrine, adrenaline, a potent mixture designed to sharpen focus and ignite a drive so intense it feels almost supernatural. And this is why her behavior can change so suddenly, why her decisions can seem cold or ruthless. It is not because she stopped loving, it is because something deeper has taken the wheel. This chemical storm is not just strong, it is overwhelming. It does not simply influence her thoughts, it rewires them. It does not merely tilt her emotions, it rearranges them completely. It takes the world she has carefully built and quietly turns it upside down. When this ancient switch is activated, her reality does not just shift, it is pulled into a new orbit. Her thoughts, once calm and steady, begin to race like a river after a flood. Her pulse quickens, her breathing changes, her senses sharpen as though she has stepped into a higher definition version of life. Colors seem richer, voices seem louder. The presence of the man who triggered it feels impossibly vivid, like the rest of the world has blurred into the background. And this is why it devastates relationships, because it does not creep in quietly over months. It crashes in. Love, which usually grows like a slow fire, spreading from ember to ember, is no match for the lightning strike of this instinct. It does not wait politely for her to be ready. It does not care about timing or consequence. Sometimes it happens in a fleeting glance, a brush of the hand, or a single sentence that lands in her chest like a spark hitting dry grass. Sometimes it is not even what he says, but how he stands, the weight of his presence, the unshaken calm in his face when the world is trying to impress him. And from that instant, a chain reaction ignites inside her body. Dopamine surges, norepinephrine sharpens her focus, adrenaline floods her system. Her attention narrows until he becomes the center of gravity. Everything else, her work, her plans, even her closest attachments, begins to feel less real, less urgent. And once this ancient drive finds its target, logic does not just bend, it breaks. Women who have spent years building a home, a life, a future they once believed unshakable can suddenly feel ready to burn it all down for someone they barely know. This is the truth most men never want to face. This is not betrayal in the shallow sense. This is not simple infidelity. This is biology, an ancient survival program so ruthless that it can override decades of careful planning in a single night. Jung discovered that when this switch is triggered, abandonment is rarely slow or gentle. It is rapid, sudden, almost violent in its intensity. A woman may spend years making cautious, thoughtful choices, weighing her options, balancing the scales of responsibility. But the moment this instinct takes command, all that careful thinking is swept aside like dust in a storm. Her brain assigns one man absolute priority over everything else. Her career, which once gave her purpose, now feels meaningless. Her plans for the future, once so detailed and precise, begin to feel suffocating. Her home, the place she once found comfort, starts to feel like a cage she must escape at any cost. This tunnel vision is the key to understanding her actions. Under normal conditions, her decision-making is a delicate balance: family, values, reputation, security. But once this program ignites, there is no balance left. Her brain begins filtering her world through a single ruthless lens. Does this bring me closer to what I now desire, or does it hold me back? Everything that supports this new desire is amplified, glowing with urgency. Every obstacle, every warning sign is silenced, dimmed, turned into background noise. And this is what makes it so unsettling. It even changes the way she sees herself. The promises she once made start to feel like chains. The vows she once honored now feel heavy, as if they were imposed on her by someone else. The life she worked so hard to build begins to feel like a script she never chose to read. Her closest friends, the ones who know her best, can suddenly feel like enemies trying to stop her awakening. Her family, her support system, start to feel like walls keeping her from what she believes she is destined to experience. Nature does not just nudge her towards someone new, it systematically lowers the value of everything that might compete with that new attraction. This is not a mere shift of attention, it is a rewriting of her inner world. And the most disturbing part, all of this happens silently, without her conscious awareness. There is no alarm ringing in her head, no voice whispering, "This is programming." She truly believes she is acting freely. She believes she is simply waking up to her most authentic desires. She believes she is finally breaking free from illusions she had been living under. And that is why it feels so real, because it does not come as pressure from outside, it comes from within. Quietly, invisibly, this instinct shifts her judgment, reshapes her priorities, and makes her choices feel like liberation. To her, it feels like clarity, like she has stopped lying to herself, like she has finally found the life she was meant to live. But in truth, this is not freedom. It is programming. It is the oldest software in the human brain, executing its code with perfect precision. This is what Jung called emotional reframing, The same house, the same partner, the same friends. Suddenly they feel different. What once felt warm now feels suffocating. What once felt safe now feels like a prison. What once felt like love now feels like a chain tightening around her throat. And this is the point where her entire world can pivot on a single choice, a choice that may change everything. A relationship that once felt safe can suddenly feel hollow, as if someone quietly drained all the warmth from it overnight. The man who once made her feel seen, protected, and cherished now feels heavy, even suffocating. And this shift does not come because she sat down with logic or made a careful decision. It does not arrive with lists, proof, or hours of rational thought. No. These are silent reprogramming events, occurring deep inside her brain, beneath the surface of conscious choice. This is what makes it so dangerous, because it does not just change how she feels today, it rewrites how she remembers yesterday. When this instinct is triggered, it does not merely shift her mood, it rewrites her story. Conflicts from the past, which were once forgiven and resolved, swell in size until they dominate her mind. A single careless word from years ago can suddenly feel like the real truth she had ignored all this time. Moments of disappointment become proof that the relationship was doomed from the start. And meanwhile, the good memories, the quiet mornings, the laughter after long days, the moments of intimacy that once felt sacred, begin to fade, like ink dissolving in water. Her life begins to look darker than it really is. Her relationship feels colder than it actually is, and new possibilities, no matter how uncertain, no matter how dangerous, begin to glow with a strange magnetic light that pulls her forward like a moth to flame. And this shift does not stop with memory. It narrows her entire focus. Where once she valued kindness, reliability, and shared vision, now her mind becomes magnetized to a completely different set of traits: confidence, danger, unpredictability. She starts ignoring the qualities she once claimed were essential for her happiness. She may overlook glaring red flags in the new man, explaining them away as passion, mystery, or complicated depth. At the same time, she becomes hypercritical of her current partner, magnifying his smallest mistakes, turning minor annoyances into unbearable flaws. This is not a conscious betrayal. This is nature filtering her vision. It highlights whatever brings her closer to the new target and discards whatever might pull her back. And here is the most devastating truth. From her perspective, it feels authentic. It feels like clarity. Jung observed that women in this state often say they feel more awake than they have in years. They claim they have finally discovered what they truly want. But this is not an awakening of the soul. It is not enlightenment. It is the pull of ancient programming wearing the mask of revelation. It does not feel like control from outside. It feels like truth, as if she has finally stopped lying to herself, finally broken free from a cage she did not even know she was in. And the strength of this hidden force is revealed most clearly when she tries to fight it. She may know with absolute certainty that this man is wrong for her, that he will bring chaos, that he will hurt her, that he will cost her everything. And yet she cannot stop thinking about him. She replays every glance, every silence, every moment of tension until it feels like destiny itself. She searches for meaning in the smallest gestures, an accidental touch, a half smile, a delayed reply, until they become proof that this connection must be followed. She begins justifying his behavior, explaining away his flaws, even defending him to those who love her most. She silences the warnings of friends and family who beg her not to go down this path. She engineers accidental encounters, small excuses, moments that allow their worlds to overlap. Even when she swears she is done, she feels the pull again and again until she gives in. This is not weakness. This is not immaturity. This is the clash of two brains, the rational mind on one side and the ancient survival circuitry on the other. And most of the time, the ancient circuitry wins, because it does not speak in language. It speaks in pulse, in heat, in chemical storms. It is older than morality, older than society, older than love itself. And this is why women sometimes fall for men who seem like the worst possible choice, men who are unavailable, unstable, even dangerous, while ignoring the men who would love them faithfully, protect them, and offer them peace. Jung discovered that certain traits act as keys, unlocking this ancient mechanism with precision. This has nothing to do with perfect features or a sculpted physique. It has everything to do with projecting the kind of strength that meant survival when the world was brutal and unforgiving. In that moment, her body is not thinking about shared bank accounts, vacation plans, or anniversaries. It is answering a call that echoes from the dawn of humanity, a call that tells her, this man can lead. This man can protect. This man can give your bloodline the strength it needs to endure. And that is why, to her, this does not just feel tempting, it feels inevitable. This has nothing to do with conventional beauty, with muscle mass, or with perfect features. It is about something far more primal, the projection of presence, the silent signal of security, the invisible proof that this man could have survived in the ancient world. It is about strength without noise, the kind of strength that does not need to announce itself because it is already understood. And then comes one of the most powerful triggers of all, emotional unavailability. Not for the reasons most men think. Her biology does not interpret it as cruelty or as rejection. It interprets it as proof. Proof that he has options. Proof that he does not need to chase. Proof that he is a man who can choose, not a man who must beg. Deep inside her subconscious, this translates to high genetic value. It makes him appear more desirable than the man who is fully available, fully eager, fully ready to give her everything she asks for. And this is where the frustration begins, because this instinct bypasses logic entirely. Family and friends often see the danger clearly. They try to intervene, they offer advice, they make lists of pros and cons, they remind her of the risks, they plead with her to be careful. But they are speaking a language that biology does not even hear. Logic speaks in words, biology speaks in urgency. And when these two forces collide, biology almost always wins. Because this program was written long before human reason ever existed. It was designed for speed, for moments where hesitation meant death, where a fraction of a second could decide whether you lived or perished. When this instinct activates, it treats relationship decisions with that same intensity, as if choosing this man were a matter of survival. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for weighing consequences, for long-term planning, for rational thought, is literally switched off. And this is no flaw. This is a feature of evolution. It is a mechanism designed to stop overthinking in moments where action meant the difference between life and extinction. Biological attraction floods the brain with a storm of chemicals. Dopamine narrows her focus like a spotlight on a single target. Norepinephrine heightens her emotions, turning every interaction into a lightning strike of intensity. And together, these chemicals rewire how the brain functions. They make logical arguments feel distant, irrelevant, even irritating, like background noise trying to distract her from what now feels like destiny. Women in this state often report that rational concerns feel strangely abstract. They know in their mind that the man is wrong for them, but their body refuses to let go. This is the battle. Knowledge on one side, emotion on the other. And most of the time, emotion wins, because knowledge is slow. It must gather evidence, construct arguments, and persuade the mind step by step. But emotion moves like lightning. It arrives first, it overwhelms, and by the time logic shows up, the decision has already been made. This is why friends and family often feel so helpless watching it happen. Their anger, their disappointment, becomes understandable but misplaced. They are trying to fight nature with logic, a tool that does not reach the part of the brain where this choice is being made. And here lies the final truth. Understanding why logic fails is the beginning of wisdom. It is the first step toward finding a way through the storm. Because once you know that this is not just a passing impulse, not just a random mood, but a survival program written deep in the architecture of the mind, only then can you learn how to face it. Only then can you guide the mind through the war between biology and deliberate choice. Only then can you stop blaming yourself for not being enough and start seeing the hidden machinery that drives human desire. And once you see the true source of the pull, you can begin, slowly, carefully, to master it. Not to destroy it, not to fight it, but to recognize it for what it is, a force as old as fire, as relentless as gravity, as indifferent as nature itself. And so you see, this was never just about her. It was about nature itself, a force older than love, older than morality, older than the very idea of right and wrong. You can curse it, you can resent it, You can rage against it. But you cannot pretend it is not there. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You begin to notice it everywhere, in the way she looks at certain men, in the way her voice changes when she is near them, in the way she rewrites the story of her own past to justify what she now feels. And this is not meant to make you bitter, it is meant to make you awake. Because the man who understands this force is no longer a victim of it. He stops pleading with the wind, he stops begging for loyalty from a storm that was never meant to be tamed. He becomes the storm. He learns to stand where others kneel, to hold his ground when the tide tries to pull him under. And in that moment, everything changes. He no longer fears her leaving because he no longer fears being left. He no longer fears her desire because he no longer fears his own strength. This is where the game ends, not when she chooses him, but when he chooses himself. And perhaps that is the final secret Jung left behind. That freedom is not found in controlling her, nor in being controlled by her, but in mastering the only kingdom a man can ever truly rule, his own mind. So walk into the storm, not as a beggar, but as a king.